The GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition released about a year ago, or well, just over a year ago. The game released for PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Xbox Series S and X, PlayStation 5, and Nintendo Switch. At the time, it was also mentioned by Rockstar that there would be a mobile port of these remasters, but we haven't actually had any more news on these mobile ports since the game did actually release on the consoles and PC. So to be honest, there's actually a good chance that this has been cancelled, but of course it could still be in development releasing in 2023. We'll just have to wait and see on that one. Obviously, any Rockstar game is going to have loads and loads of hype around this, and this was no different. In fact, this actually had loads of hype around it since, you know, the games that were releasing within this trilogy were GTA 3, GTA Vice City, and GTA San Andreas, all very, very popular games within the series. Some people weren't a fan of the look of the remaster, but personally I liked it, and a lot of other people did like it, and yeah, this got a lot of hype. Rockstar put out a very solid trailer, and the game was releasing on so many platforms, so it was literally available to everyone. The game was listed at a standard price of around £55 to £60, which, you know, that wasn't awful, but at the same time it wasn't amazing, considering these are games that we've seen before. Then it would be nice to have that a little bit lower, but we see this with other remasters these days, such as The Last of Us Part 1, which retailed for £70, so to be honest, this really wasn't that bad. And it certainly didn't stop people from buying it. The game actually sold really well, and it got loads of pre-orders. So then it came to the launch of the game in November of 2021. And well, to put it simply, it was awful. The game was a complete mess, or all three games were a complete mess. There was some issues with the rain in the game that were just a complete mess, and the optimization was absolutely horrendous as well. So obviously this did lead to Rockstar needing to push out loads and loads of patches to try and fix the game, and obviously that wasn't going to just happen overnight. That was going to take time, and that left players unhappy. For example, I actually ended up refunding the game myself since I was playing on PC, and the optimization was awful. I was getting about 30 frames on what I believe was a 2060 Super, so that really shouldn't be the case, and I was playing on about medium settings, so you know, that obviously shouldn't have been the case, and it was disappointing that that was how it was, and it just led to me refunding the game since I just couldn't really play it. Now, in terms of actual bugs, I believe the game was okay. It was more just the performance and the overall visual bugs that were the issues. In terms of gameplay bugs, there weren't really any or many in that regards that were, you know, made it, you know, very disappointing in that respect. It was generally the overall optimization of the game, and yeah, the overall graphics. Some of the graphics were messed up, like I said about the rain. Everything on that regard was just very, very disappointing from Rockstar. So due to this really poor release, it didn't take that long for the game to drop in price, or at least in some circumstances it did drop in price. So the game did end up receiving a physical version, or at least it did for PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, and the Xbox Series S, X, and One. As you can see, the only one left out there was PlayStation 5. Now this is where we get onto the one thing that I really hate about this GTA remaster. So like I mentioned, due to the poor release, the prices did drop pretty quickly, and this was mainly for the physical copies. If you were to go onto an online store on PC or on the consoles to be able to purchase the game, then you would see it going for its normal price of around £55, unless of course there was a sale at the time. But if you get the physical copy of the game, so with a disc, then you're able to get that for about £20, which is obviously a pretty good price for when you're getting 3 whole games, and obviously now after a few patches, that's pretty cheap. So you have the option of purchasing the physical copy for Nintendo Switch. This goes for a little bit more, at around £30, but obviously you're able to play it on the go, and you're able to play it, yeah, anywhere you want to, and you're on a Nintendo Switch. Now the graphical capabilities aren't as good, and the overall performance is around 30 frames per second, which is obviously a playable experience, but it's nothing like what you can get on console or PC. But generally speaking, if you want to play it on the go, then that's your best option at the moment, and you are able to get that for about £30 physically, or of course you can get it digitally, and if there's no sale, then that will be a little bit more, but obviously Nintendo Switch is an option there. Then you've got the Xbox version. Now there is one physical edition for Xbox, but you will receive the Xbox Series S and X version along with the Xbox One version by using that same disc, and that can be picked up for a cheap price of around £20. Then when it does come to PC, obviously there isn't a physical copy, and you can get the game for about £50 unless there is a sale. Since the game isn't on Steam, then it's harder to get keys, so generally speaking you do have to get the game from the Rockstar store, and this will set you back about £50 to £20 depending on whether there's a sale. So now we're on to the bit, like I mentioned, that I really hate, and this is when it comes to the PlayStation version. Now you can get the physical copy for £20, and this is the PlayStation 4 version of the game, but unlike Xbox, if you put that PlayStation 4 disc into your PlayStation 5, then you don't get the PlayStation 5 version. The only way you can get the PlayStation 5 version of the GTA Trilogy is by purchasing it from the PlayStation Store, when more often than not, that's going to set you back £55, which I think is very expensive considering the mess that it launched in. Now to make this video, I went ahead and purchased the game again, and obviously I did all this research about it before going ahead and purchasing it. At the time, there was no sale on PC or PlayStation, and those are the two platforms that I can use, so I ended up just purchasing the PlayStation 4 version to use on PlayStation 5. Now, since this was designed for PS4 Pro, there is still a performance phantom fidelity mode, which I'll get onto a bit later, but I did have to, you know, not use the PlayStation 5 version. Obviously, I was saving about £30, so I think it's worth it, but it was annoying that I wasn't able to use the PlayStation 5 version because for some reason, you know, Rockstar just didn't include it with the disc. Obviously, we do see this with some other games, but what I find annoying is that obviously that's available on Xbox. There's no reason that it shouldn't be available on PlayStation, but you know, that's the way it is, and I did just have to go ahead and purchase the PlayStation 4 version, which was only £20, and I think that's a very, very good price. But obviously, since I'm using a PlayStation 5, it's a little bit disappointing that I had to go ahead and do that. I should mention that with my luck, about a week or two after purchasing this physical copy, there is a PlayStation sale, and then of course, the PlayStation 5 version is discounted to about £25, so you know, I could have literally just spent the extra £5, but you know, that's the way it is, and you know, life goes on. Either way, I had the physical copy of the GTA Trilogy on the PlayStation 4 version of the game, but I was using it on PlayStation 5. In terms of what this physical copy comes with, it's literally just the disc. Now, when you insert this disc into your PlayStation, you're going to get a sort of icon for the GTA Trilogy, and then you'll get a folder including the 3 games that are within it, obviously, that being GTA 3, GTA Vice City, and San Andreas. In total, these 3 games will set you back about 60 gigabytes, which isn't that bad, to be honest. That's nothing that, you know, isn't very common. We see that all the time these days, to be honest. So, now on to playing the game in 2023. Now, I do think that this game has sort of been forgotten a little bit since it did have a very rough launch and people left the game, and obviously since it doesn't really get any updates, since obviously it's a story player game and it's a remaster of a story player game, you're never going to get any new content or anything like that, so there wasn't really anything new to bring players back to the game. They just thought, oh yeah, you know, that's the GTA Trilogy, it's a broken game and there's no real need to go back to that game, which I completely understand. I pretty much did the same thing, to be honest. I refunded the game like, you know, a day or two after it released, and then I never really went back to it at all. There was a few times when I questioned getting it on PlayStation when I saw the cheap prices, but I never actually did until recently. So when I first loaded up the game in 2023, I have to say that I had no issues at all, really. The game ran fine. I was playing on the performance mode, so I was getting 60 frames per second, slightly lower graphics quality, but I was willing to take that for the 60 frames. I think that makes it a much better experience. But generally speaking, I didn't have any bugs, and I thought the game was absolutely fine and absolutely playable. And this goes for all 3 of them, GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas. I am yet to finish the games, but I have played a good few hours of every single one, and obviously I did play them before on PC, so generally I understand the gameplay, but obviously I was just looking to see if the game was, you know, fixed, and the performance issues, I had no performance issues at all. And in terms of the actual gameplay, I thought it was great, and I think that now the remasters are actually pretty solid. I have to say that I actually also thought that for a PlayStation 4 version of the game, it actually looked great. I thought the graphics were nice. Obviously you weren't getting the, you know, updated lighting or anything like that, and I believe the game wasn't just a higher resolution, but I was on a 1440p monitor and it felt absolutely fine. I thought the images looked clear and I thought the graphics were solid. The only thing that I could find that really set the PS4 version apart from the PS5 version was, of course, the features on the controller. If I was using the PS5 version, then when I was using the PS5 controller, I would have got the haptic feedback and I would have had the use of the adaptive triggers. But obviously, since I was using the PS4 version, there was nothing. There was no real vibration, and obviously the triggers were just standard. There was no, you know, there was no adaptations there at all. So in terms of negatives, the only real negative I have was not being able to play the PS5 version. I thought the actual games were good. I thought, you know, if you want to play a remaster of the old GTA games, then this is actually a great option, and I didn't really see any issues of it. If, you know, there's someone out there that thinking, oh, I want to go back to those old GTA games, I want to try them out again, then these remasters are really the perfect option to be able to play them on the latest and greatest platforms and actually have some upgrade visuals and enhanced frame rates. Then I think this is a brilliant option. I think these days it works really well. I do think though that for its standard price of around £55, it's really not worth it, but if you can get the physical version for around £20, I think it's worth it. Even if you're on a PS5 and you might have to sacrifice using the PS4 version, take it from me that there's really no issues there, unless you're maybe on a 4K, you know, Ultra HD 120Hz TV, then you might want to go ahead and get that PlayStation 5 version, but otherwise then I wouldn't say there's any issues really. If you're on a 1440p monitor or 1080p monitor, then you should have no issues. Of course, if you're able to get the PS5 version on sale on the PlayStation Store, then that's definitely the best option, since that's only slightly more expensive than getting the PlayStation 4 version physically. It is worth noting that if you do purchase the PS5 version, you'll get the PS4 version along with that as well. And for Nintendo Switch, I think this is a great option. From the reviews I've seen, it's definitely solid. I've played some other ports such as The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt on Nintendo Switch, and that was on another channel of mine, which I'll link in the description below, but I found that great, and if it's anything like that, then it's going to be pretty solid. So obviously, if you're on a Nintendo Switch and you want to play these, then that is the great option there, and I think that's definitely going to be a solid option. Then over on PC, you don't really have any other option than to purchase it on the only Rockstar Games launcher. However, it does seem like it will be releasing on Steam soon, and that might be a better option since you might be able to find it for cheaper prices, so definitely keep an eye out for that. And then obviously over on Xbox, then you can get the game on disc, and you'll get the next gen version and the Xbox One version on the same disc, or you can get it on the store if you can find it for a cheaper price. But generally speaking, I think on Xbox the disc is the best option, unless you're on the Xbox Series S really. So that does just about wrap up things here. That's my opinion on the GTA Trilogy in 2023, and personally, I think it's great. I think it's definitely a solid remaster nowadays. I wouldn't say it's as best as it could have been. I don't think it's necessarily reached its high potential, but I do think it's a solid option. If you want to play through those GTA games again, then I would highly recommend purchasing this. So if you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any content just like this. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.